like an absolute beast. But if you're talking about a productivity beast, after I've given you my initial impressions of this, we also have to tell you a lot more about the Fold 4. Yes, along with its sibling, the Flip 4, which you saw obviously at Samsung Galaxy Unpacked with my initial impressions. But this one is special, and I'm not going to do a typical review because you must have seen those already. We're going to do a Tech Today style where we give you a genuine user experience, because the questions I've gotten are, should I shell out the big bucks for the Fold 4? Should I upgrade from the Fold 3 to the Fold 4? So now we'll put all those questions to rest and give you a final, genuine verdict on Tech Today. Very quickly, the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro is a new product. When I laid my eyes on it, when I unboxed that personalized package a few weeks ago, I was stumped. I was floored by what this watch looked like. It's a more durable option compared to the Watch 5. But my initial impressions of the Watch 5 Pro, a lot more rugged, maybe meant for the outdoors, a very cool color. I can see myself wearing this, maybe, just maybe more than an Apple Watch as well. It reminds me a bit of the Garmin's, and maybe that's what it's meant to replace. Very rugged, very classy looking, and the display is vibrant. I am liking this partnership. Finally, tech geeks are getting to see the true fruits of the partnership between Samsung, Google, and of course Fitbit as well. Look, I'm going to give you a full review very soon, but in this initial impressions, everything looks amazing. Let's move on to what actually powers this, the real remote to the Samsung ecosystem, which is also now my primary Android device, the Samsung Galaxy Fold 4. So as I was saying, how can you figure out whether you should purchase the Fold 4, which is an expensive foldable? If you're spending more than 1,30,000, 1,40,000 rupees, if you're spending more than a lakh on a phone, then it has to be something which can be your primary device. So what would this be pitted against? If you're spending more than a lakh on a device, then we're talking iPhone Pro Max category, right? The big daddy of iPhones. If it was last year, the 13 Pro Max, or this year as well, that's what this is up against. And strangely, the only other rival in its class is last year's Fold 3. So should you upgrade from a Fold 3 if you have it already? The short answer is no. This is an incremental, iterative upgrade from the Fold 3. You've already spent a lot of money on the Fold 3. You can wait it out. But yes, if this is your first device, or you're buying a foldable after a couple of years, then you'll see that the technology has grown exponentially given what this product has to offer. All the things that we were left nitpicking for, all the things that we were complaining about on the Fold 3 have to some extent been addressed with the Fold 4. So the Fold 4 does have a better camera. If I actually power it up, there are several cameras we're talking about, right? I'll give you an instance. This is how a selfie would look from the front camera. Then there's another camera when you open it up, and it automatically, the minute you open it up, the screen switches to the inside. This is the camera on the inside of the phone. And then you have these cameras, but then you'll say, what's the point of them? I can't even use this as a selfie. Well, you can again on the Fold. That's the beauty of the Fold devices. And then if you want to see its 50 megapixel camera and all its prowess with a viewfinder, there you go, the cover screen preview. And this is what it looks like if you use the camera at the back. The camera at the back is much more refined, low light photography is better, video shooting is much better. You can go 8K on this device, so it is almost flagship level when we're talking about the camera. Now, another thing that's improved about the phone is that it's much lighter than last year. It's also shorter, and that also means that it's a little more immersive when we're talking about the viewing experience, because the bezels are reduced, they're mitigated. I'll tell you when this phone really comes into its own. Productivity aside, when you're talking about content consumption or entertainment, the minute you're traveling somewhere, for instance, I boarded a flight right now to Delhi and I was hooked to content on the Fold 4. You can place it up on the airline seat and watch your favorite shows. It's got a fantastic display, very punchy, saturated, vibrant sort of colors, great speaker system. Pair it up with headphones, great sound as well. You can zoom in and get a fantastic viewing experience. I think in terms of entertainment, this phone is unparalleled, unmatched in the market. When you're talking productivity, of course, you can use the S Pen Fold Edition. Swipe in a few notes. You can also do a lot of multitasking, for instance. If you're using this device you can always use the tabs. When you obviously open it and close it, a lot of people find it very strange to keep doing this, right? If you're worried about durability, look, it's fine. It's gotten better every year. It's getting better every year. But yes, if you're one of those people who wants to just open it with one hand, you can't do that. You need both hands to do it. So you'll be using just this screen if you find that a little too annoying or a little cumbersome. But look, the fact that you are getting this display, which is fully functional, 120 Hz AMOLED, fantastic colors. I know the aspect ratio becomes a little weird to use, but you have invested in a foldable, which is great at doing all sorts of tasks. One thing which is really strange about foldables is when you're placing it on the table. So I've placed it here on the table, and there you go. It doesn't pass the wobble test. You can't be moving around like this because it's going to keep wobbling. So that's because of the massive camera sensors which have gotten so much bigger than the last year as well. Seamless with the OS and the integration. It comes with Android 12, a special version of it which is meant for foldables. I told you about the camera, I told you about the display. Of course, it's a better processor this time around, flagship specs, but now let's get down to the verdict. If you're not invested in the Apple ecosystem, or you're not really chained to all these Apple devices, and you're spending so much on an ordinary phone with flagship specs, then at 1,30,000, 1,40,000, whatever deal you get on this is the device which can truly make you fold. Well, we're done folding and flipping, and now we're going to move on to the next segment of the show. Wait, see, now you have to be spontaneous on this show. We've just gotten mail, and the question that seems to be asked, and it's not an Ask Aayush segment, we hadn't planned it for this show, but the question is from Avinash, and Avinash is asking us, what if I want to take my EV, made in India EV, to the mountains for a drive? I'm guessing Avinash is very adventurous, and it's a very legit question. Can you purchase an EV in India in 2022-23? We've spoken about the electric revolution, and if you purchase it, is it only for city driving? What if you want to take it to the hills? Look, I can give you all sorts of gyan about range anxiety and regenerative braking and stuff like that, but the truth is, you need a real world experience, a real world review, or shall I say, the electric experience.
We've done so many segments on electric vehicles on the Tech Today show, and there is one question which keeps on popping up again and again and again. All of us keep getting asked this one question from a lot of people who are aspiring to buy electric vehicles. They want to know, can an electric vehicle be taken outside of city limits? Will it survive? Can it be taken on the highway? Can it endure high speeds? At the same time, can you take it onto the hills? So what we're going to do is tackle these two questions in this segment. We're going to go onto the highway, and we're going to do a little bit of uphill driving as well to tell you exactly how the range of an electric vehicle takes a hit or gets impacted when you're going uphill, and at the same time when you're on high speeds, how much of the range that the car claims is anywhere close to what kind of distance you have actually traveled. So we're going to begin an uphill drive right now, and let's see what kind of damage does the range take and what kind of distance we actually travel. So right now I'm on 0.0 as far as trip A is concerned, and we have about 176 kilometers of range left. I basically want to see how much exertion can the car take without letting the range plummet. So as I see, the range has already dropped by a kilometer. It's down to 175, and we've barely moved up by 100 meters. Let's go further. So what I've basically noticed is that the range has come down by 1 full kilometer, and I've barely traveled about 200 meters in actual distance. So if you take that kind of an average, clearly the range will take a major hit if you're going uphill continuously. We can try the same thing downhill as well. So when we began our uphill drive, we had about 176 kilometers of range which the car was showing us, and I had brought down trip A to 0.0 kilometers. Now that we've come uphill, I've barely traveled a distance of about 500 meters, but the actual range of the car has come down by 3 full kilometers. So we've traveled 500 meters and the range has come down by 3 kilometers. That is what happens when you go uphill. You can see it right here. The range was 176 when we started, now it's 173. And the actual distance traveled was 0 and now it's 0.5. So overall, when you are going to take this car or any electric vehicle uphill, it will consume more battery and the range will plummet much faster than the actual claimed range. So we're going to start a little bit of high-speed driving on the highway. And here, right from the get-go, I just want to inform everyone that we have about 164 kilometers of range left. And currently, I'm going to bring down trip A to 0. I'm going to reset it because I want to know exactly how much distance I have actually traveled and what impact it has on the range that the car claims. So let's go. So when we started our highway drive, I had shown that we had about 164 kilometers of range left in the car that is being reflected by the car. And the trip A, I had brought it down to 0.0 kilometers. I had reset it. Now that I'm reviewing it, after a while, I see that we've traveled about 18 kilometers in actual distance, but the range has come down by nearly 30 kilometers. So right now, the range that we're seeing is 133 kilometers left, and the actual distance traveled is about 17. Driving an electric vehicle with a battery running out of power can cause major anxiety, at least on the highway. Keep these things in mind, and I think you can take an electric vehicle as far as you want.
Well, I hope you're charged up like I am. If you aren't, then you need some caffeine. Go get a coffee. We're going to come back after a short commercial break. And then, if you have questions like the previous viewer of the show, then a lot of them will be demystified in the second half of the show. Don't miss it.
Black holes. Did you ever worry that Earth could get sucked into one of them? Black holes do have a massive gravitational pull that allows it to swallow anything that gets in its way. Let's find out more about them.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Welcome back to Tech Today. Now, often on the show, we have all sorts of gadgets. We do unboxings, reviews, the iPhone, the Samsung Galaxy, the Fold devices, Xiaomi, all of that. But what we always do is talk all about the specs, but how much do we get under the hood when we're talking about Qualcomm Snapdragon or MediaTek or even an M1, M2 chipset? That's the real heart of this cellular device, a cellular chipset. What if I told you that we wanted to get the biggest cellular chipset maker in the world to talk to us about what makes this phone tick and how the 5G revolution is going to change everything for you and me? Well, have a look. On Tech Today, we have a very special guest. I have with me Rajan Vagadia of Qualcomm, one of the world's biggest chip makers, or shall I say, one of the world's biggest tech companies. Rajan, I think that's a better way to introduce what Qualcomm does. And I want to start off by asking you and diving right into what's happening in India right now with all this talk of 5G and spectrum allocation. And while all the telcos grab all the headlines in terms of what spectrum they've grabbed, but then it's more interesting when you talk about what a company like Qualcomm is doing. What is Qualcomm doing really to drive India's 5G revolution?
I think over the years, Qualcomm has been in India for the last 26 years. And the role we play is of enabling the ecosystem primarily. And this ecosystem is about devices, about operators, about startups, and any company you can think about. In India, we have been over this 26 years as we have increased our presence. We have a sizable engineering force in various locations in India. Our objective is to create innovations and then allow these innovations to be leveraged by the ecosystem partners to primarily innovate further. So let's take the journey as India moved from 2G to 3G and India moved from 3G to 4G. And now, the exciting time of 4G to 5G. At every step, we were behind the scenes. We were working ahead with all of the operators, all of the OEMs, to enable India to be there when the world was embarking upon 5G. So an example of that is in India, the 5G smartphones started getting launched in the year 2020. Now that's a pretty unique situation because typically the smartphones or devices get launched once the network is there. In case of 5G, we were able to convince our partners, our OEM partners and brands to launch the 5G devices in India early. So over the last more than 2 years, we have seen more than 50 million devices of 5G already in the market, even when the networks are not there. So the exciting time is as soon as the operators switch on the network, we'll have a lot of consumers who can leverage the 5G from the day one.
Rajan, when we look at what's happening around the world, and especially when we're talking about global supply chains, when it comes to semiconductors and chips, they're very reliant on one particular country, that is Taiwan. And when you assess what's happening in the region, especially with the crisis in Taiwan, how much of India's chip industry is really reliant, and how much are we as a country reliant on that side of the world? More importantly, what kind of ramifications does a crisis in Taiwan have to us in India?
I think the way the government announced the semiconductor policy, that's the right step. That's the first big, huge, focused step which the government has taken. Now, I'll pause it there and try to go back and explain to you what does the semiconductor supply chain look like, right? Little unknown, and hence it's important for us to understand what are the pieces of the smart semiconductor manufacturing. All the time we hear one word, which is the fab, right? But there is a very big element of the supply chain which is not just fab. There is a industry, there is a whole ecosystem of semiconductor design which is massive. There is a supply and material and equipment which is massive. Then comes the fab, then comes the testing and packaging. So essentially you take 4 buckets: material, raw material and equipment. You take the design of chipsets, which is the semiconductor design industry. Then you take the fab, which is factories, which you talk about, like it's either Taiwan or China or Singapore or North America. And then finally it's packaging industry, which is either in any of these countries. Now, it's very important to understand one thing very clear, that the whole semiconductor industry is a global economy. It is not a single country.
Absolutely, very interesting answer there, Rajan. But I have a question from the tech geeks on the show, which I know is always on their minds. It's often on Reddit forums and whatnot. But tech geeks seem to be talking a lot about big tech companies like Apple moving inwards with their M series, M1, M2 now with chipsets, Google with Tensor, even Oppo working on their ARM-based functionality. Where does that leave traditional chip makers like Qualcomm? And I'd like your broad industry view on this.
So one thing is, you need to clearly understand who we are as Qualcomm. Quite a few times, as you said, we are misunderstood as a chip company. Predominantly, we are a tech company, right? We have any given time around 140,000 patents as a pool of patents, which are either filed or already there, which are licensed to the companies, whether it's startups or existing companies, who then leverage these patents to create more innovations on top of it. Chipset happens to be our business for sure. And I don't think innovation is a prerogative of one single company. We believe, and we have seen all through, that leadership companies like what we have, when we drive fundamental innovations and move the world from 3G to 4G and now from 4G to 5G, there are so many companies which also parallelly contribute towards that growth.
Correct.
Right. But having said that, the whole industry works in the same pattern as what you're seeing. You can name a few companies and say what they are doing. Eventually, technology is what we look at. Innovations which are going into building the fundamental blocks of the chipset is what we work on. And we keep innovating, and we'll keep our leadership position on, whether it is 4G or then going towards 6G.
Well, the big Apple event, you know what that means? Techtember is here and the devices will be reviewed on Tech Today, first day, first show. On the Business Today handles, tune into our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram, write into me, ask all your questions because we will be getting you the lowdown on all the new launches from Cupertino. But what really happened at the Apple event? Well, here's a special report.
Apple's Far Out event had the company really reaching far out into the sky. The iPhone 14 adds an incredible new technology to its armory. For the first time ever, your iPhone 14 can reach out and connect to a satellite in case of an emergency, in case you're out of the cellular coverage area. All you have to do is point the phone towards the satellite, answer a few basic questions, and the phone will contact an emergency service. Also in the new iPhone, a new crash detection capability which informs emergency services in case you've had a car crash. The third big change, available only in the more high-end Pro models, the much-hated camera notch has smartly been turned into a notification center. The other big features in the Pro model, a 48-megapixel back camera and an always-on display. Importantly, the new iPhone for the first time will be available in India on 16th September, the same day as the US. Prices in India for the iPhone 14 start at around 80,000 rupees. The 14 Plus model will be available from 90,000 rupees. The Pro models start at 1,30,000 and go up to 1,90,000. The iPhone 13 prices have been reduced to 70,000 rupees, while the iPhone 12 will start at 60,000 rupees.
There's the iPhone 14 like we predicted, there's an iPhone 14 Plus, and then of course you have the Pro and Pro Max. There's no Mini, and that's something, if you were into smaller iPhones, well then you must be quite disappointed that the iPhone Mini line has been discontinued, at least for this year.
The other big unveil was of the rugged Apple Watch Ultra. Meant for extreme outdoor sports, exploration, and deep-sea diving, the watch comes with an extra action button, double speakers for higher audio output, double frequency GPS, and battery life extendable to 60 hours. The watch lineup is supplemented with an all-new Apple Watch Series 8 with a new temperature sensor, ovulation detector, crash detection, and international roaming. A cheaper SE variant is available as well. The Ultra has been priced at 90,000 rupees in India, while the Series 8 range starts from 46,000 rupees. The cheapest SE option will cost you between 30 and 38,000 rupees. The new AirPods Pro 2 also launched last night, priced at 27,000 rupees. Those looking to update their iPhones and Apple Watches with the new operating systems, the wait will be over on Monday, the 12th of September, when iOS 16 and Apple Watch OS 9 roll out.
Well, that was an action-packed episode of Tech Today. I hope you've liked it as much as we've liked putting it together for you. But I'll tell you what, given all the announcements in Techtember and the massive Apple event as well, I think this was only the trailer for Techtember. On Tech Today, picture abhi baki hai. For that, you'll have to stay tuned next week. This is your host Aayush Ailawadi saying until next week, adios.
Yaqub Memon's beautified grave in South Mumbai has triggered raging politics around it. 7 years after terrorist Yaqub Memon was hanged to death in the 1993 Mumbai blast case, it was recently spotted that his grave has got a makeover with a marble boundary and LED lights. The person who beautified Yaqub's grave, Shoaib Khatib, is a trustee of Bada Qabristan. Khatib can be seen with NCP Neta Nawab Malik and Congress Neta Aslam Sheikh, both of whom served as ministers when the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi was in power. Former Jummah Masjid trustee Zazil has even claimed to have received a threat call from Tiger Memon's close aide and relative Rauf Memon. Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde has vowed strict action against those involved in beautification of a terrorist's grave.
इस तरह वो कंट्रोवर्सी हुआ था याकूब मेमन की कब्र को लेकर, उसमें क्या जांच के आदेश दिए गए हैं? किस तरह की
जांच के आदेश दिए हुए हैं और कार्रवाई हो रही है। आपने देखिए कार्रवाई शुरू है।
जो ट्रस्ट के लोग हैं उनसे भी क्या पूछताछ होगी सर?
जांच के बाद सब हो जाएगा, जांच होने दो
सर। बीजेपी ने
गलत हुआ है उसके ऊपर कार्रवाई हो जाएगी।
These damning pictures have put the Aghadi in the dock once again. With Divyesh Singh in Mumbai, Bureau Report, India Today.
You are watching India Today.
Good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Akshata Nandagopal, getting you all the top stories that we're tracking this Saturday afternoon, including the big political war that's broken out over Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra. Let's begin with all the headlines. Rahul Himanta called KCR a dog. TRS worker snatches Himanta's mic in a public event in serious security breach. Rahul vows to unite opposition in Congress's Bharat Jodo Yatra. BJP takes pot shots, says refuel Yatra vehicles in BJP states. After Dhumka horrors, another shocker from Jharkhand. Youth set ablaze over a scuffle in Garhwa. King Charles and the Queen Consort arrive at Buckingham Palace for the first time as Britain's reigning monarch. King Charles pledges to uphold constitutional principles.
As the Queen herself did with such unswerving devotion, I too now solemnly pledge myself, throughout the remaining time God grants me, to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation.
Now let's focus on the big political controversy of the day. A huge row has erupted after Congress MP Rahul Gandhi met with an anti-Hindu Catholic priest, someone who is a habitual offender known to make controversial, provocative comments, George Ponaiya, who you see on your screens there on the left. In a video that's now gone viral, Rahul Gandhi is seen in a conversation with this particular priest along with several others, learning about Jesus Christ. And at one point, George Ponaiya even says Jesus is the only real God, unlike Shakti and other gods. He even goes on to say that Jesus is the only one who's born in human form. Now, amid all of this controversy, the BJP has reacted, lashing out at Rahul Gandhi and the Congress, calling their meet a Bharat Todo meet. George Ponaiya was arrested for his anti-Hindu and anti-India remarks earlier. This is because he made comments saying, and I quote here, he said, "I wear shoes because of impurities of Bharat Mata contaminating us." He was arrested on July 24th last year by the Kanyakumari police for this hate speech.
He's the real God. He's the real God. That's it. God reveals him as a man, human person, not like Shakti or this power. So we see in this human person, born like a man, born in this world, the Father.
ये भारत जोड़ो नहीं, ये भारत तोड़ो और नफरत जोड़ो अभियान है राहुल गांधी का। और इसीलिए जॉर्ज पोनैया जैसा व्यक्ति, जिसको वहीं की पुलिस ने गिरफ्तार किया था हिंदुओं के खिलाफ जहर उगलने के लिए, और केवल हिंदू नहीं, पूरे भारतवर्ष और भारत माता के खिलाफ जहर उगलने के लिए। राहुल गांधी जो अपने आप को जनेऊधारी शिवभक्त बताते हैं, वो आज इस पर मौन है। ये इसलिए क्योंकि कांग्रेस का तो पुराना लंबा इतिहास और चरित्र और डीएनए रहा है हिंदू विरोध और हिंदू नफरत का।
We as a political party, we as people in public life should meet everyone, try and engage with everyone, try and get into a dialogue with everyone, because that has been the richness of our past, that has been the richness of our civilization, that has enriched our evolution of our civilization. So I don't know why the BJP refuses to learn good lessons from our own civilizations, the lessons of dialogue instead of lessons of conflict. We believe in Samvad, BJP believes in Vivad.
It's a completely bogus video. What was said in the conversation has nothing to do with the text of the tweet. We have issued the full text of what was said. It is typical mischievous lies being spread by the BJP to damage the spirit of the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
He is somebody who Rahul ji met when he was meeting everybody. One of the persons. He's not somebody from our party. He meets all. That's what we said. We are trying to unite India. We want to bring everybody together. Whoever has done anything, whatever wrong, we want to give them love, peace and unite India. Now there is somebody who is known bigot like Pragya Thakur, who clearly said something inside the parliament. The Bapu's assassin is a Deshbhakt. I want to know today, what is the action Bharatiya Janata Party and the Prime Minister has taken? Because he said, "Main kabhi maaf nahi karunga." Uska jawab de dijiye aap. Fir hum baat karenge.
Let's bring in Supriya Bharatwaj. She's joining us live, in fact, getting us the latest updates on the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Supriya, I understand you have Mr. Manikyam Tagore of the Congress with you. Take it away.
Well, Akshita, he will be joining us in a short while. He's on his way. We are here where the first stop is. This you can see as to how the Congress Party's workers and leaders are present here. And at the same time also there's massive security bandobast because the Yatra now progresses towards the Kerala side. And at the same time, as far as talking about the story is concerned, Mr. Manikyam Tagore has just tweeted saying, "My leader Rahul Gandhi ji meets many people in the Bharat Jodo Yatra. He is against fear and hate from anybody and he takes love and brotherhood to all." Now Sangees are jumping. When Anurag ji spoke about Goli Maro, also we met him and have dialogue with him and we don't accept his words. So this is a very sharp attack coming from Congress Party's whip in Lok Sabha, Manikyam Tagore's side, on the Union Minister, Mr. Anurag Thakur also, as well as BJP. The Congress is going all out. They're humming a very aggressive raga at the moment. Akshita, Manikyam Tagore is expected to reach this way point where we are in a couple of minutes. When we spoke to him, he said he's just round the corner, he'll be coming. But the situation outside is really a choco-block because a lot of people are coming in. Congress Party has gone all out and they're playing on the front foot. They're saying that in this Bharat Jodo Yatra, we have Rahul Gandhi is meeting a cross-section of people and he even met the pastor, but nowhere they are endorsing what the pastor has said. They are saying that they are just going all out and meeting everybody. So when Pawan Khera spoke, then as well as Shama Mohammed spoke, and now the Manikam Tagore's tweet has come, they all are saying that the dialogue is going on. At the same time, also one thing which is there, Akshita, Congress party is saying why BJP is so much rattled. They are again and again breaking up this issue. They are saying as to how the situation is panning out. It seems that BJP, what Rahul Gandhi yesterday had tweeted and said in his press conference, Jairam Ramesh also had tweeted and said in his press conference. In his tweet also, he said that the Bharat Jodo Yatra has actually hit hard at BJP, and the spirit of Bharat Jodo Yatra is to speak to with everybody and anybody, every Indian.
A question within the Congress right now, Supriya, was this clearly a plan made despite knowing about George Ponaya's credentials, or was this a gaffe that was overlooked, that they didn't know about his credentials and the comments that he's made before?
Well, actually, that answer has to be given by the Congress spokesperson. But when we spoke to these people, they said very categorically that we are going all out and meeting everybody who's reaching out to us. Congress has already said that BJP there's a bankruptcy of vision. Yesterday, Rahul Gandhi said when the entire attack was going on the Burberry shirt, and there came a tweet later on where it was just in an ambiguous fashion, it was mentioned that the entire situation which is there, it results in nothing but bankruptcy of vision. Congress party's topmost leaders are saying that our Bharat Jodo Yatra's beginning is a huge success, and that's why BJP is rattled. Leaders after leaders we have spoken to have taking this line only. Jairam Ramesh, Pawan Khera, Shaman Mohammed, Manikam Tagore, KC Venugopal, and even who's who of the Congress party are saying that the Bharat Jodo Yatra is a success. There's a huge amount of people who are coming in and joining us, and that's why BJP is rattled. So somewhere once there is the issue of containers, then there is the issue of Burberry shirts. But one thing is for sure, Akshita, in this very entire saga, what we are seeing today as well as in this coming from last 2-3 days, is this that the war of words between BJP and Congress is getting really shriller as the Bharat Jodo Yatra progresses all the way from Kanyakumari to Kerala. Today in the evening, the Yatra will leave Tamil Nadu and will enter Kerala.
Okay. All right, Supriya, thank you for joining us with all of those details. Controversy brewing here, the Congress dismissing all of these allegations that they're facing of meeting with someone who has been, in fact, known to be very controversial, made anti-Hindu, even anti-India comments. And let's play out for you once again that interaction between the group of priests, including the controversial Catholic priest there, George Ponaya, seen on your screens, with Rahul Gandhi. Let's play out that interaction and why the BJP is up in arms.
It's the real God. It's the real God. That's God revealed him as a man, human person, not like Shakti or this power. So we see in this human person, born like a man, born in this world, the Father.
Moving on, the chorus is growing for a transparent Congress presidential poll, and the chorus is coming from within the Congress. 5 Congress MPs, including Shashi Tharoor, have written to the AICC Central Election Authority Chief Madhusudan Mistry, expressing concern about the transparency, about the fairness of the poll process to elect the party chief. The MPs have demanded that the electoral rolls should be securely provided to all electors and potential candidates. Tharoor, who is contemplating throwing his hat in the ring, has written and sought publication of the electoral rolls. Tharoor expressed his intent to contest the party's presidential election and said everybody should know who can nominate, who can vote. The BJP has latched onto this, referring to the Congress's party polls as a farce. The BJP termed Congress elections as a tajposhi and not electoral polls.
जहाँ तक कांग्रेस के जन पूरे देश के अंदर जो लोग हैं, उनकी ख्वाहिश है कि राहुल जी इस ओहदे को संभालें और पार्टी को आगे बढ़ाने का काम करें। लेकिन वो अपने दिल में क्या सोच रहा है, इसका आखिरी फैसला तो उन्हें ही करना है। इसलिए मैं ये समझता हूँ कि उनको इसका मौका मिलना चाहिए कि वो जो भी फैसला करें, वो यकीनन हमें पूरा यकीन है कि पार्टी के हित में होगा।
All right, let's move on to news coming in from Jharkhand of another horrifying crime that's been reported. There's been so much outrage over what's happened in Dumka of Jharkhand in the last few days, and of course that incident of a girl being set ablaze by a stalker. This time a youth was set ablaze by another man who allegedly poured petrol on him, and this after a scuffle. The incident has been reported in Garhwa district. The victim, identified as Deepak Soni, was set on fire during a fight. He's been admitted now to hospital. The accused, Kasamuddin, has been arrested by the cops and a probe is underway. The entire incident took place on Friday evening. The BJP is now lashed out at the Hemant Soren government over this particular incident and demanded